On January 1st, 2006, the new year had just begun. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon in Richmond, Virginia, when a man and his young daughter arrived at their friend's house for what was supposed to be a cheerful New Year's Day visit. However, instead of being greeted by the warmth of celebration, they were met with something far more sinister, smoke billowing out from the home. A sense of dread hung in the air, and the man immediately knew something was wrong. He called 911. What first seemed like a fire emergency would soon reveal a gruesome and heartbreaking reality that would haunt the Richmond community for years to come. Inside that house lived the Harvey family: Brian, his wife Kathy, and their two young daughters, Stella 9 and Ruby 4. They were a well-loved family known for their involvement in the local community. Brian was a musician, famous in the Richmond area for his role as the singer and guitarist of the indie rock band House of Freaks. Kathy was a beloved co-owner of a local toy store called World of Mirth, a place filled with joy and magic for children. Together, Brian and Kathy were seen as a creative, loving couple, devoted to their family and their community. But on that fateful day, the Harvey family's world was shattered forever. When firefighters arrived, they rushed to extinguish the blaze. But as they made their way through the house, they discovered a chilling scene. All four members of the Harvey family had been brutally murdered before the fire had even started. The smoke was an attempt to cover up the horror that had taken place. It became immediately clear to investigators that they were dealing with a heinous crime. Brian and Kathy had been bound with electrical cords, their lives taken in a violent and senseless attack. The children, too, had met a tragic fate. The details of what happened inside that house are too harrowing to describe in full, but the brutality of the murders sent shockwaves throughout Richmond and beyond. Who could commit such an unspeakable act against a family, and why? As the investigation unfolded, authorities worked tirelessly to find answers. There was no immediate motive, no clear explanation for why the Harveys had been targeted. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. It seemed to be something far more calculated and sinister. The community was left in a state of shock and fear, wondering who could be behind such a monstrous crime. The police soon identified two suspects, Ray Dandridge and his nephew, Ricky Gray. Their involvement in the Harvey family murders wasn't an isolated incident. They had been on a violent crime spree that left multiple victims in their wake. Just days after the Harvey murders, the bodies of Mary Baskerville Tucker, her husband Perciel, and their young daughter Ashley were found in their Richmond home. The connection between the two cases was undeniable. Both families had been bound, murdered in cold blood, and their homes set on fire in a cruel attempt to erase the evidence. Ricky Gray, a man with a troubled past, quickly emerged as the primary perpetrator. He had a long history of criminal behavior, including violence and drug use. In fact, just a year before the Harvey murders, Gray had been released from prison. His life seemed to spiral out of control, leading him down a path of destruction. His accomplice, Ray Dandridge, also had a criminal record, and together they formed a deadly duo. In interviews with law enforcement, Gray and Dandridge offered chilling confessions, revealing the cold and calculated nature of their crimes. Gray admitted to killing the Harvey family, claiming that he and Dandridge had chosen their home at random. It was a home invasion, a crime committed purely out of opportunity and evil intent. The randomness of the attack was perhaps the most unsettling part of it all. There was no motive, no vendetta. The Harveys were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. The trial that followed was a media sensation, as the horrifying details of the case came to light. Ricky Gray was sentenced to death for his role in the murders, while Ray Dandridge received a life sentence without the possibility of parole. For many, justice was served, but the pain and devastation left behind by the loss of the Harvey family would never fully heal. In the wake of the murders, the Richmond community rallied together to support one another, honoring the memories of Brian, Kathy, Stella, and Ruby. Vigils were held and memorials were erected to ensure that the Harveys would never be forgotten. Brian's bandmate and lifelong friend, Johnny Hott, organized benefit concerts in their honor, using music as a way to remember the light and love that Brian had brought to the world. Kathy's toy store, World of Mirth, became a place of solace as friends and neighbors came together to grieve and remember the joy she had spread through her work. Though time has passed since that fateful day in 2006, the Harvey family's legacy lives on in the hearts of those who knew them. They were more than just victims of a horrific crime, they were beloved members of the community who touched the lives of so many. The senselessness of their deaths only amplifies the tragedy, but their memory continues to inspire acts of kindness, creativity, and love. The murders of the Harvey family serve as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the randomness of violence. For the Richmond community, it was a moment of collective trauma, a loss that left deep scars, but it was also a moment of resilience. In the face of unimaginable evil, the community came together to support one another, refusing to let the darkness overshadow the light that the Harveys had brought into their lives. In the years that followed, the case of the Harvey family has been the subject of numerous books, documentaries, and news specials, all seeking to understand how such a tragedy could happen and why. But for those who knew the family personally, the answers don't lie in the courtroom or in the headlines. The true story of the Harvey family is one of love, a love that was stolen from them far too soon, but a love that endures in the memories of those they left behind. For Brian, Kathy, Stella, and Ruby, their time on this earth may have been cut short, but their impact will never fade. They were a family full of life, joy, and compassion. And though they are no longer here, their spirits continue to shine, reminding us all to cherish the moments we have with our loved ones and to never take life for granted. As we remember the Harvey family, we also hold on to the hope that such a tragedy will never happen again, that the evil that took them from this world will never have the power to steal away the light of another family, and that, in the end, love will always triumph over darkness. As we reflect on the tragic loss of the Harvey family, their story reminds us of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. Though their lives were taken far too soon, their legacy of love, creativity, and community continues to inspire us all. The darkness of that day can never overshadow the light they brought to the world. Thank you for joining us in remembering Brian, Kathy, Stella, and Ruby. If you found this story meaningful, please consider subscribing and sharing to keep their memory alive and spread awareness of their impact.